Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're tackling a question that I bet has puzzled a whole generation of us, probably ever since our school days.
So let's just dive right in. If you've ever looked at a map of the solar system and just felt like something's missing, you're not alone. And today we're going to solve the mystery of our solar system's most famous celestial underdog.
Yeah, for a whopping 76 years, this was just scientific fact. From its discovery back in 1930 all the way up to 2006, Pluto was our ninth planet, period. It was that final, distant outpost you saw in every single textbook, on every classroom poster.
But then, 2006 happened. Everything changed. Astronomers cast a vote, and boom, just like that, our solar system shrank. So what on earth happened to change over 7 decades of astronomical certainty? Well, to really get it, we've got to go back to the very beginning.
You see, the story of Pluto doesn't actually begin with a discovery. It starts with a prediction. It was basically a search for a ghost, a mysterious planet X that astronomers were convinced was hiding out there in the darkness, way beyond Neptune.
This timeline, wow, it really lays out the entire saga, doesn't it? It all kicked off with that prediction way back in 1905. See, an astronomer, Percival Lowell, he noticed these strange wobbles in the orbits of Uranus and Neptune. He thought, some massive unseen planet must be out there pulling on them. And that's what started this decades-long hunt, which finally paid off in 1930 when a young astronomer, Clyde Tombaugh, spotted it. And then, 76 years later, that planet's status? Gone. Okay, so once they found it, this new world needed a name. And get this, the winning suggestion, Pluto, came from an 11-year-old girl in England. How cool is that? And it was perfect. Pluto, the Roman god of the underworld, ruling over a dark, cold, distant realm. I mean, what a perfect fit for this faint little world they found lurking at the very edge of our solar system.
All right, so Pluto is officially the ninth planet. Case closed, right? Well, not exactly. As our technology got better and we could study it more closely, the clues just started piling up. It became pretty clear this wasn't like the other planets at all. It was a total oddball.
For starters, its size was a huge shock. I mean, the first estimates guessed it was massive, maybe even bigger than Earth. But the reality? Whoa, it's tiny. We're not just talking smaller than Earth, it's actually smaller than our own moon. To put that in perspective, you could fit something like 170 Plutos inside our planet.
And then you have the distance. At its absolute farthest point, Pluto is a staggering 7.4 billion kilometers from the Sun. That is so far away that less than 1% of the sunlight we get here on Earth ever makes it out there. The sky is so dark you could literally see stars in the middle of the day. Just imagine that.
And because it's so incredibly far out, Pluto is one of the coldest places in the whole solar system. I mean, we're talking about temperatures that can plummet down to minus 233 degrees Celsius. That is so mind-numbingly cold, it would instantly freeze the nitrogen right out of the air we breathe and turn it into a solid.
And if that wasn't weird enough, there's its orbit. Most planets have these fairly neat circular paths around the Sun. Not Pluto. Its orbit is this long, stretched-out oval. And this weird elliptical path, well, it leads to some pretty strange behavior.
Check this out. For a full 20 years, between 1979 and 1999, Pluto's bizarre orbit actually brought it inside Neptune's orbit. Yeah, you heard that right. For 2 whole decades, Neptune was actually the 9th planet from the Sun, and Pluto became the 8th. How wild is that?
And here's another quirk for you. Tiny little Pluto, smaller than Mercury, somehow has 5 moons. Meanwhile, Mercury and Venus have 0. And its biggest moon, Charon, is so huge compared to Pluto that they don't have a simple orbit. They actually orbit a point in space between them, locked together in this kind of amazing celestial dance.
Okay, so Pluto was small, freezing cold, super distant, and had this wacky orbit. But you know what? None of that was enough to get it kicked out of the Planet Club. Nope. The real trouble for Pluto started when astronomers began finding a bunch of other objects out there that looked a lot like it.
So in the early 2000s, these powerful new telescopes started spotting other worlds out in what's called the Kuiper belt, this huge field of icy debris beyond Neptune. They found things like Eris, Haumea, Makemake, and here's the kicker. Eris was actually more massive than Pluto. This created a huge crisis for astronomers. I mean, if Pluto is a planet, then shouldn't all these other things be planets too? All of a sudden, our solar system was about to get really, really crowded. So, to solve this problem once and for all, the bigwigs at the International Astronomical Union, the IAU, decided it was finally time to write a clear scientific definition for the word planet, and they came up with a simple 3-point checklist.
Okay, so to get the title planet, an object has to pass all 3 of these tests. Rule number 1, it's got to orbit the sun. Check. Pluto does that. Rule number 2, it needs enough mass so its own gravity squishes it into a nearly round shape. Yep, Pluto's round. Check. But then we get to rule number 3.
And this is where it all falls apart for Pluto. Rule number 3 is that a planet has to have cleared its orbital neighborhood. And what does that mean? It means it has to be the gravitational boss of its own orbit, either flinging away or gobbling up anything else that gets in its path. And Pluto? Well, its orbit is just full of other asteroids and icy bodies from the Kuiper belt. It hasn't cleared its path at all. It's just not the boss of its own neighborhood.
So you see, Pluto wasn't destroyed or lost or anything like that. It was just reclassified. It became the poster child, really, for a brand new category of worlds, the dwarf planet. And that's a world that checks the first 2 boxes. It orbits the sun and it's round, but it fails on that crucial third one.
And that kind of leaves us with the final thought, right? This whole story really just shows that science isn't some set of rules written in stone. It's a process. It's all about discovery and, refining what we know. As our telescopes get more and more powerful and we find even more strange and wonderful things out there in the cosmos, who's to say the words we use to describe it all won't have to change all over again?